Hello and welcome to the Cultured Bumpkin live poetry reading. Tonight I thought we would start with a little William Shakespeare. We're going to invite our friends from TikTok. I'm going to hit the live button over there and we'll just start to read. We'll jump around a little bit, but here's sonnet number 2. When 40 winters shall besiege thy brow and dig deep trenches in thy beauty's field, thy youth's proud livery, so gazed on now, will be a tattered weed of small worth held. Then being asked where all thy beauty lies, where all the treasure of thy lusty days, to say within thine own deep sunken eyes, were an all-eating shame and thriftless praise. How much more praise deserved thy beauties, if thou couldst answer, this fair child of mine shall sum my count, and make my old excuse, proving his beauty by succession thine. This were to be new made when thou art old, and see thy blood warm when thou feel'st it cold. It was William Shakespeare's sonnet number 2. Here is sonnet 8. Music to hear. Why hearest thou music sadly? Sweets with sweet war not. Joy delights in joy. Why lovest thou that which thou receivest not gladly, or else receivest with pleasure thine annoy? If the true concord of well-tuned sounds by unions merry do offend thine ear, they do but sweetly chide thee, who confounds in singleness the parts that thou shouldest bear. Mark how one string, sweet husband to another, strikes each in each by mutual ordering, resembling sire and child and happy mother, who all in one pleasing note do sing, whose speechless song, being many, seeming one, sings this to thee: thou single wilt prove none. Sonnet number 8, William Shakespeare. Here is sonnet 12. We're just totally jumping around. If you have a what's going on? What's up, Lee? Yeah, you like that shirt? I got it. This is kind of a test shirt, and I have one other design as well. I haven't decided which one I'm going to print, but yeah, I mean, at least it gets the point across, right? If I don't know, I think that's probably mirrored, but anyway, I like it. Here is sonnet number 12. When I do count the clock that tells the time, and see the brave day sunk in hideous night, when I behold the violet past prime, and sable curls all silvered o'er with white, when lofty trees I see barren of leaves, which erst from heat did canopy the herd, and summer's green all girded up in sheaves, borne on the bier with white and bristly beard, then thy beauty do I question make, that thou among the wastes of time must go, since sweets and beauties do themselves forsake, and die as fast as they see others grow. And nothing's 'gainst time's scythe can make defense, save breed to brave him when he takes thee hence. Jubes, what's going on? Good to see you. Here is sonnet 19. Oh, it isn't? Okay, good. The smaller letter says classic literature audio. Here is Peekaboo, what's going on? Yeah. Time to power down. Get ready for bed. Sonnet 19. Devouring time. Blunt thou the lion's paws, and make the earth devour her own sweet brood. Pluck the keen teeth from the fierce tiger's jaws, and burn the long-lived phoenix in her blood. Make merry and sorry seasons as thou fleets, and do whate'er thou wilt, swift-footed time, to the wide world and all her fading sweets, but I forbid thee one most heinous crime. O carve not with thy hours my love's fair brow, nor draw no lines there with thine antique pen. In thy course untainted do allow for beauty's pattern to succeeding men. Yet do thy worst, old time. Despite thy wrong, my love shall in my verse ever live young. And then here's 20. A woman's face with nature's own hand painted hast thou, the master mistress of my passion. A woman's gentle heart, but not acquainted with shifting change, as is false women's fashion. An eye more bright than theirs, less false in rolling, gilding the object whereupon it gazeth. A man in hue, all hues in his controlling, which steals men's eyes and women's souls amazeth. And for a woman wert thou first created, till nature, as she wrought thee, fell a doting, and by addition me of thee defeated, by adding one thing to my purpose, nothing. And since she pricked thee out for women's pleasure, mine be thy love, and thy love's use their treasure. Sonnet number 20. Splendor in the Grass. Give me more info. Who's the author? Is that the title, or is that just a line? Here's Sonnet 29. When in disgrace, with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate, wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art, that man's scope, with what I most enjoy, contented least. Yet in these thoughts, myself almost despising, haply I think on thee. And then my state, like to the lark at break of day, arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. Where did my little iPad go? Well, I don't know. I can't have my pad. I thought I had it somewhere, but now it's gone. So I might not be taking requests tonight. Besides just general like author requests. Yeah, maybe I left it inside. Oh well. Yeah, sorry. But I've got Shakespeare, I've got Jane Austen, I've got Mary Oliver, Walt Whitman, I've got William Faulkner, I've got Nathaniel Hawthorne, Poe, Keats, British war poets, Robert Burns, and what's her name? Elizabeth Barrett Browning. So, yeah. Yeah. Read a little Faulkner. This is from Absalom. From a little after 2:00 until almost sundown of the long, still, hot, weary, dead September afternoon, they sat in what Miss Coldfield still called the office, because her father had called it that. A dim, hot, airless room with the blinds all closed and fastened for 43 summers, because when she was a girl, someone had believed that light and moving air carried heat, and that dark was always cooler and which, as the sun shone fuller and fuller on that side of the house, became latticed with yellow lashes full of dust motes, which Quentin thought of as being flecks of the dead old dried paint itself blown inward from the scaled blinds as the wind might have blown them. There's your first sentence. There was a wisteria vine blooming for the second time that summer on a wooden trellis before one window, into which sparrows came now and then in random gusts, making a dry, vivid, dusty sound before going away. And opposite Quentin, Miss Coldfield, in the eternal black which she had worn for 43 years now, whether for sister, father, or not husband, none knew, sitting so bolt upright in the straight, hard chair that was so tall for her that her legs hung straight and rigid as if she had iron shin bones and ankles clear of the floor, with that air of impotent and static rage like children's feet, and talking with that grim, haggard, amazed voice, until at last listening would renege and hearing sense confound, and long dead object of her impotent yet indomitable frustration would appear, as though by outraged recapitulation evoked, quite quite inattentive and harmless out of the biting and dreamy and victorious dust. Here's your second sentence. Her voice would not cease, it would just vanish. There would be the dim coffee-smelling gloom, sweet and oversweet with the twice-bloomed wisteria against the outer wall by the savage, quiet September sun, impacted, distilled, and hyperdistilled, into which came now and then and the cloudy flutter of the sparrows like a flat limber stick whipped by an idle boy, and the rank smell of female old flesh long embattled in virginity, while the wan, haggard face watched him above the faint triangle of lace at wrists and throats, from the too-tall chair in the which she resembled a crucified child, and the voice not ceasing but vanishing into and then out of the long intervals like a stream, a trickle running from patch to patch of dried sand, and the ghost mused with shadowy docility, as if it were the voice which he haunted, where a more fortunate one would have had a house. Yeah, so there's a little Absalom for you. Let's see. I didn't know I called him by that. Lee, Elizabeth Barrett Browning. That's a good one. If 339. Okay, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, sonnet number 14. If thou must love me. If thou must love me, let it be for naught except for love's sake only. Do not say, I love her for her smile, her look, her way of speaking gently, for a trick of thought that falls in well with mine, and certes brought a sense of pleasant ease on such a day. For these things in themselves, beloved, may be changed, or change for thee. And love so wrought may be unwrought so. Neither love me for thine own dear pities wiping my cheeks dry. A creature might forget to weep who bore thy comfort long, and lose thy love thereby. But love me for love's sake, that evermore thou mayest love on through love's eternity. Here's one by Andrew Marvell called To His Coy Mistress. Had we but world enough and time, this coyness, lady, were no crime. We would sit down and think which way to walk and pass our long love's day. Thou by the Indian Ganges side shouldest rubies find. I by the tide of Humber would complain. I would love you 10 years before the flood, and you should, if you please, refuse till the conversion of the Jews. My vegetable love should grow vaster than empires and more slow, and 100 years should go to praise thine eyes, and on thy forehead gaze. 200 to adore each breast, but 30,000 to the rest. An age at least to every part, and the last age should show your heart. For, lady, you deserve this state, nor would I love at lower rate. But at my back I always hear Time's winged chariot hurrying near, and yonder all before us lie deserts of vast eternity. Thy beauty shall no more be found, nor in thy marble vault shall sound my echoing song. Then worms shall try that long preserved virginity, and your quaint honor turn to dust, and into ashes all my lust. The grave's a fine and private place, but none, I think, do there embrace. Now, therefore, while the youthful hue sit on thy skin like morning dew, and while thy willing soul transpires at every pore with instant fires, now let us sport us while we may, and now like amorous birds of prey, rather at once our time devour, than languish in this slow chapped power. Let us roll all our strength and all our sweetness up into one ball, and tear our pleasures with rough strife, thorough the iron gates of life. Thus, though we cannot make our son stand still, yet we will make him run. To his coy mistress. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The tide rises, the tide falls. The tide rises, the tide falls. The twilight darkens, the curfew calls. Along the sea sands, damp and brown, the traveler hastens toward the town, and the tide rises, the tide falls. Blue Jeep, what's up, man? The morning breaks. The steeds in their stalls stamp and neigh as the hostler calls. The day returns, but never more returns the traveler to the shore, and the tide rises, the tide falls. Indeed, indeed it is. Here's another Longfellow, The Ocean of Life. Ships that pass in the night and speak each other in passing, only a signal shown and a distant voice in the darkness. So in the ocean of life we pass and speak one another. Only a look and a voice, then darkness again, and a silence. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, The Ocean of Life. Here's one by Robert Service that isn't a ballad, and it's just called Carry On. It's good. It's good. It's sort of advice. It's encouraging. It's inspirational. I like it. It's easy to fight when everything's right, and you're mad with the thrill and the glory. It's easy to cheer when victory's near and wallow in fields that are gory. It's a different song when everything's wrong, when you're feeling infernally mortal, when it's 10 against 1 and hope there is none. Buck up, little soldier, and chortle. Carry on, carry on. There isn't much punch in your blow. You're glaring and staring and hitting out blind. You're muddy and bloody, but never you mind. Carry on, carry on. You haven't the ghost of a show. It's looking like death, but while you've a breath, carry on, my son, carry on. And so in the strife of the battle of life, it's easy to fight when you're winning. It's easy to slave and starve and be brave when the dawn of success is beginning. But the man who can meet despair and defeat with a cheer, there's the man of God's choosing. The man who can fight to heaven's own height is the man who can fight when he's losing. Carry on, carry on. Things never were looming so black, but show you but show that you had a cowardly streak, and though you're unlucky, you never are weak. Carry on, carry on. Brace up for another attack. It's looking like hell, but you never can tell. Carry on, old man, carry on. There are some who drift out in the deserts of doubt, and some who in brutishness wallow. There are others I know who in piety go, because of a heaven to follow. But to labor with zest and to give of your best for the sweetness and joy of the giving, to help folks along with a hand and a song, why, there's a real sunshine of living. Carry on, carry on. Fight the good fight and true. Believe in your mission. Greet life with a cheer. There's big work to do, and that's why you're here. Carry on, carry on. Let the world be better for you. And at last, when you die, let this be your cry. Carry on, my soul, carry on. Robert Service, carry on. Oh, that's cool. That's a good one. Um, that's a real good one. Here's another one. Edgar A. Guest, a favorite of mine. Very, inspirational type of guy. A lot of good life advice and things like that. Easy to understand. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, but he would be one that wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with the trace of a grin on his face. If he worried, he hid it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, "Oh, you'll never do that. At least no one ever has done it." But he took off his coat and he took off his hat, and the first thing we knew, he'd begun it. With a lift of his chin and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or quit it, he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. There are thousands to tell you it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to point out to you one by one the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and go to it. Just start to sing as you tackle the thing that cannot be done, and you'll do it. Edgar A. Guest, it couldn't be done. Yeah, that's a good one. My dad used to read that one to me. Um, Read this one for the first time the other night on here. John Keats, Four Seasons Fill the Measure, and it's kind of like Shakespeare's, Seven Ages of Man. So if you're familiar with Shakespeare's The Seven Ages of Man, listen to how familiar this sounds. It's totally different, but also a familiar theme. Four seasons fill the measure of the year. There are four seasons in the mind of man. He has his lusty spring, when fancy clear takes in all beauty with an easy span. He has his summer, when luxuriously springs honey's cud of youthful thought he loves to ruminate, and by such dreaming nigh his nearest unto heaven. Quiet coves his soul, quiet coves his soul has in its autumn, when his wings he furleth close. Contented so to look on mists in idleness, to let fair things pass by unheeded as a threshold brook. He has his winter too of pale misfeature, or else he would forego his mortal nature. It's a good one. I like poems that, contemplate mortality, you might say. Happy Heifer. I love that name. That's a great. It's a good. It's a good handle. Here's one, Alfred Lord Tennyson, "Home they brought her warrior dead." That was John Keats. John no, I don't even remember the name right off. Four Seasons Fill the Measure. All right, here's Lord Tennyson, "Home they brought her warrior dead." Home they brought her warrior dead. She nor swooned nor uttered cry. All her maidens watching said, "She must weep or she will die." Then they praised him, soft and low, called him worthy to be loved, truest friend and noblest foe. Yet she neither spoke nor moved. Stole a maiden from her place, lightly to the warrior stepped, took the face cloth from the face, yet she neither moved nor wept. Rose a nurse of 90 years, set his child upon her knee, like a summer tempest came her tears. Sweet my child, I live for thee. Mm. Here is William Wordsworth. The name of that poem was "Home They Brought Her Warrior Dead," and that was by Lord Tennyson. Here's William Wordsworth. She dwelt among the untrodden ways. She dwelt among the untrodden ways, beside the springs of Dove, a maid whom there were none to praise, and very few to love. A violet by a mossy stone, half hidden from the eye, fair as a star when only one is shining in the sky. She lived unknown, and few could know when Lucy ceased to be, but she is in her grave, and oh, the difference to me. William Wordsworth. Here is Edgar Allan Poe, "To One in Paradise." Thou wast all that to me, love, for which my soul did pine. A green isle in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers, and all the flowers were mine. Ah, dream too bright to last! Ah, starry hope, thou didst arise but to be overcast. A voice from out the future cries, "On, on!" But o'er the past, dim gulf, my spirit hovering lies, mute, motionless, aghast. For alas, alas, with me the light of life is o'er. No more, no more, no more. Such language holds the solemn sea to the sands upon the shore. Shall bloom the thunder-blasted tree, or the stricken eagle soar? And all my days are trances, and all my nightly dreams are where thy dark eye glances, and where thy footstep gleams, in what ethereal dances, by what eternal dreams. It was "To One in Paradise" by Edgar Allan Poe. And can you do Keats' Nightingale? Yeah, I can. I could definitely do that. That's probably my favorite poem. It's so favorite that I never do it on my own. I wait for other people to do it, or else it would be like, I'm going for tonight's reading of John Keats' Ode to a Nightingale. We're going to do it. I love that poem. Short one by Emily Dickinson. My life closed twice. My life closed twice before its close. It yet remains to see if immortality unveil a third event to me. So huge, so hopeless to conceive as these that twice befell, parting is all we know of heaven and all we need of hell. Emily Dickinson. Get my Keats book. The good friends send this to me. I love it when people send me poetry or any kind of books, but when someone knows me well enough to know that, like, John Keats is one of my favorite poets, and they found this at a like a antique bookshop and, out in, like, California and sent it to me, that meant a lot. That meant a great deal. So I'm gonna read it. Um, okay. All right. Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. My heart aches, and a drowsy numbness pains my sense, as though of hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dull opiate to the drains 1 minute past, and leathwards had sunk. 'Tis not through envy of thy happy lot, but being too happy in thine happiness, that thou, light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot of beechen green and shadows numberless, singest of summer in full-throated ease. Oh, for a draught of vintage that hath been cooled a long age in the deep-delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green, dance and provincial song and sunburnt mirth. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south, full of the true, the blushful Hippocrene, with beaded bubbles winking at the brim and purple-stained mouth, that I might drink and leave the world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim, fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever, and the fret, here where men sit and hear each other groan, where palsy shakes a few sad last gray hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow and leaden-eyed despairs, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. Away, away, for I will fly to thee, not charioted by Bacchus and his pards, but on the viewless wings of poesy, though the dull brain perplexes and retard. Already with thee, tender as the night, and haply the queen moon is on her throne, clustered around by all her starry fays. But here there is no light, save what from heaven is with the breezes blown through verdurous glooms and winding mossy ways. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but in embalmed darkness guess each sweet wherewith the seasonable month endows the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eves. Darkling I listen, and for many a time I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names in many a mused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath. Now more than ever seems it rich to die, to cease upon the midnight with no pain, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. Still wouldst thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sod. Thou wast not born for death, immortal bird. No hungry generations tread thee down. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperor and clown, perhaps the self-same song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth, when sick for home she stood in tears amid the alien corn, the same that ofttimes hath charmed magic casements, opening on the foam of perilous seas in fairylands forlorn. Forlorn, The very word is like a bell to toll me back from my to toll me back to thee from my soul's self. Adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do, deceiving elf. Adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem fades, past the near meadows, over the still stream, up the hillside, and now 'tis buried deep in the next valley glades. Was it a vision or a waking dream? Fled is that music. Do I wake or sleep? Ode to a Nightingale. Absolutely. Thank you for the request. I always like I always like reading that one. That's just it's so good. And I think the very best recording of that I have ever heard, or that I like personally, is Benedict Cumberbatch. And you can type in like Ode to a Nightingale, Benedict Cumberbatch on YouTube, and you will it'll come up. Someone's pirated it. There'll be 3 or 4 renditions of it, but it's he's so good. Also, Stephen Fry. There's a video of Stephen Fry doing it, and it's just a video, and he's reading it, and it's wonderful. He's an amazing narrator and voice actor, and there's mine on YouTube as well. So if you want to hear that, mine again, check out my YouTube. Okay, let's see what else we got. A few more minutes here. Here is one by a guy named Isaac Rosenberg, who's one of the great war poets. So this is one called Returning, We Hear the Larks. So this is about, his service in World War I. Somber the night is, and though we have our lives, we know what sinister threat lurks there. Dragging these anguished limbs, we only know this poison-blasted track opens on our camp, on a little safe sleep. But hark, joy, joy, strange joy, lo, heights of night ringing with unseen larks, music showering on our upturned listening faces. Death could drop from the dark as easily as song, but song only dropped, like a blind man's dream on the sand by dangerous tides, like a girl's dark hair, for she dreams no ruin lies there, or her kisses where a serpent hides. Now, Samantha, welcome. And if you have any requests, drop them in. And if not, other people will, or I will just keep reading. So this is definitely tuned for, powering down before bed. So yeah, I just think that's so beautiful. And knowing that he was in war and he was used to artillery barrages, and it was like, he's kind of on the move and he's expecting to, there's some, German spotter on the hill that's like, oh, infantry in the open, you drop it on them, which had probably happened to him before. He says, but hark, joy, joy, strange joy, lo, heights of night ringing with unseen larks, music showering on our upturned listening faces. Death could drop from the dark, that's artillery, but as easily as song, but song only dropped. That is beautiful. I love it when someone can be in a kind of a horrific situation and then talk like that. That's a real gift. That's beautiful. Yep. Or her kisses where a serpent hides. Just it's beautiful. I love that. And he was that guy. Let's see. Yeah, that guy was killed at the age of 28 at the end of the war, which is sad. He finally, you know, one day it was death that rained down, I guess, and that also makes it maybe that much more beautiful. It's kind of like the Charge of the Light Brigade or something. It's about a cavalry charge that shouldn't have even happened, and a lot of guys got killed and stuff, but it's still beautiful in a way. While we're here, this might be one of the best known of the Great War poets, John McCrae, which a Canadian medical officer. He wrote a song or a poem called "In Flanders Fields." In Flanders fields the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amidst the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Colonel John McCrae. Okay, so I've got a question for you. If you like short stories, like classic short stories, and if you like kind of like Halloween, creepy gothic type stuff. So if you don't like short stories or you don't like Edgar Allan Poe or Washington Irving, let's say, or Shirley Jackson, then you don't worry about it. But if you do, um, or maybe you would be interested in exploring, I need to do some short stories, record them for my YouTube channel. They'll be too long to put on here, but I've done several, and I want to do some more. No, Legend of Sleepy Hollow. That's probably the next one I'm doing, but I'm interested in you know what other people like, which other ones they've done, or you'd be interested in hearing. Dana, who do you like? What's a short story you like? My personal favorite short stories are generally funny. I love O. Henry. I love Ransom Red Chief. I love The Cop of the Anthem. That kind of stuff. I love Mark Twain. You know, Samantha, do you have a spooky story that you like, especially like? I'm just trying to gauge people. Yeah, I remember your comment from earlier, and that's like I had already been thinking of that. Washington Irving, Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I've done his Rip Van Winkle, and I was surprised at how hilarious that was. That's a very funny short story, very witty. Um, so anyway, Sleepy Hollow, nice. Well, I am definitely planning on doing that one. Yeah. Here's another one of the great war poets, Walter de la Mare, called How Sleep the Brave. Nay, nay, sweet England, do not grieve. Not one of these poor men who died, but did within his soul believe that death for thee was glorified. Ever they watched it hovering near that mystery yond, thought to plumb, perchance sometimes in loathed fear, they heard cold danger whisper, "Come," heard and obeyed. Oh, if thou weep such courage and honor, beauty, care, be it for joy that those who sleep only thy joy could share. It's a good one. You can tell a lot of the um, um, war poets are either like war is hell or, you know, it's glorious. It's interesting how they generally one of those two camps. He was definitely in the war is glorious camp. And they're both beautiful in their own way. Um, I don't think I've ever done a full Rudyard Kipling short story. I actually that was, Samantha, that was the last one I posted, Telltale Heart. It was like 21 minutes, I think. I posted that one on my YouTube channel and my podcast. And that was one of the most fun I've ever had recording, because it's like it's the narrator, it's um, the untrustworthy narrator, which makes it so fun. Because think about it, when you are listening to a documentary or something, when the narrator says something, it's assumed that he or she is telling the truth, right? Like, okay, well, that must be the truth. Well, in the Telltale Heart, you, you like, that's not the case. And that just adds, yeah, it's such an interesting point of view. Very unique. And I really like that. Yeah, so I've done that one. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, Kipling. Let me see. I might. See, I got this the other day for like 50 cents. It's an antique, like More Stories to Remember. It has Ernest Hemingway, Jack London, Rudyard Kipling, Arthur Conan Doyle, Thomas Hardy, Willa Cather. It's got some good stuff in here. So, yeah. Yeah, yeah. That is a great one. Oh, I was just who wrote that one? I was just reading about it. That's the one where the town has the lottery or something. Who is the author? That's another one I was wanting to do. Where's a pen? I'm gonna write these down. I can find one. Shirley Jackson. Okay. Good deal. I've done one Shirley Jackson called Charles. But that's the only one I've done on my YouTube channel. So that's good. Okay. The lottery. Because I was interested in that one. So I'm glad you said that. Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I've already done Telltale Heart. The lottery. Oh yeah, there's this used bookstore in my area. I pop in there from time to time, and they're always, I mean, it's just great stuff, you know. And I mean, look at that. It's that old paper jacket. Like it doesn't even have the plastic on it. It's a paper jacket, and I like it. Yeah, and yeah, I love Dickens as well. Look at that, Jane Austen, all 7 novels. Yeah, I'm an Austen fan. Yeah, The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. I will have to do that one. I will have to do that one. Good. So those are my next two. Legend of Sleepy Hollow, The Lottery. Thank you. That answers my question. Outside. Okay. I've got a Lovecraft book of a bunch of short stories. I'm sure that one's in there. Here is A.E. Housman. Yeah, it's like a real classic Shirley Jackson dark kind of a story. A.E. Housman is a short one called Epitaph on an Army of Mercenaries. These, in the day when heaven was falling, the hour when earth's foundation fled, followed their mercenary calling and took their wages and are dead. Their shoulders held the sky suspended. They stood an earth's foundations stay. What God abandoned, these defended, and saved the sum of feelings, and saved the sum of things for pay. Yeah, Lovecraft, he's good. He'll. I read what was I read the other day. I forget. I mean, it was so creepy. When will that be on here or your podcast? Well, I'm not sure. I don't know if I'll record it and then put it on my YouTube and podcast, without any mistakes in it, or if sometimes what I do is I read it live with this, on, it's recording, and then that way, it's a live recording, but then I take it and put it on my podcast too. So I'm not sure how I'll do that, but we'll see. But I'll definitely have to do that. Why can't people read books like this? Ugh, exactly. It's a great question. Here is Thomas Hardy, Channel Firing. That night your great guns, unawares, shook all our coffins as we lay and broke the chancel window squares. We thought it was Judgment Day, and sat upright, while drearisome arose the howl of wakened hounds. The mouse let fall the altar crumb, the words drew back into the mounds. The glebe cow drooled till God called. No, it's gunnery practice out at sea, just as before you went below. The world is as it used to be. All nations striving strong to make red war yet redder. Mad as hatters, yet they do no more for Christ's sake than you who are helpless in such matters. That this is not the judgment hour for some of them's a blessed thing. For if it were, they'd have to scour hell's floor for so much threatening. Ha! Ha! It will be warmer when I blow the trumpet, if indeed I ever do. For you are men and rest eternal sorely need. So down we lay again. I wonder will the world ever saner be, said one, than he who sent us under in our indifferent century. And many a skeleton shook his head, instead of preaching 40 year. My neighbor, Parson Thirdly, said, I wish I had stuck to pipes and beer. Again the guns disturbed the hour, roaring their readiness to avenge, as far inland as Stoughton Street and Camelot and starlit Stonehenge. Great war poets. Let's see. On your YouTube page, and can't wait to hear Lincoln. You, like the Gettysburg Address? Is that what you mean? And that's really cool if you're related to him. Um, I mean, there's going to be a Colton. There's a lot like that, actually. I think the hard part of finding a poem that speaks to feeling alone would be, the hard part would be narrowing it down. Here is one by Edgar Allan Poe called Alone. So we'll see what you think of this one. Alone by Edgar Allan Poe. From childhood's hour, I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I cannot bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrow. I could not awaken my heart to joy at the same tone, and all I loved alone. Then in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn from every depth of good and ill the mystery which binds me still. From the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view. So that's Edgar Allan Poe, Alone. And then this one is by John Clare, and it's called I Am. And it really talks about loneliness, but it's not as much of not from a standpoint of like Poe is like, I'm alone because I'm a weirdo. Like that's kind of, seems to be where he's going with that. This is not like that at all. This is alone and just sort of, it's just different. It really is, isn't it? That's Poe's one of my favorites, absolute favorites. Okay, so John Clare, I am. I am. Yet what I am, none cares or knows. My friends forsake me like a memory lost. I am the self-consumer of my woes. They rise and vanish in oblivious host, like shades in love and death's oblivion lost. And yet I am, and live with shadows tossed into the nothingness of scorn and noise, into the living sea of waking dreams, where there is neither sense of joy, but sense of life, nor joys, but the vast shipwreck of my life's esteems. And in the dearest that I loved the best are strange, nay, rather stranger than the rest. I long for scenes where man has never trod, a place where woman never smiled or wept, there to abide with my Creator, God, and sleep as I in childhood sweetly slept, untroubling and untroubled where I lie, the grass below, above the vaulted sky. Yeah, so hopefully between the two of those, that'll give you that's a couple of different directions to take that. So let me know if either one of those is helpful to you. Darkness. Let me see if it's in this book. Like I said, I don't have my pad, or I could Google it, but I think it's in here. Uh, yeah, yeah. I think it depends on like that feeling of um why um like maybe why you're feeling that or why someone is feeling that could be, why John Clare would resonate more or Poe would resonate more. Just depends on why. And for me, John Clare would probably um it would be the same for me in this case. Well, some I'm familiar with them. So I've already dealt with the emotion of sort of the first time, reading them through. So that's part of it. And also, since I'm on live, I try not to blubber. But I'm not too good for that. I'm not above it. It breaks down the communication if I'm over here like, you know, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means you're not going to be able to understand me. Let's see. What was the darkness? Okay, let me see. I don't know. Let me check if I have that one. I do not have that one. I don't think. Let me make sure I don't have my Lord. I've got a Lord Byron poetry book, but I may have taken it out of here. Oh well. Wait a second. Nope. Nope. Foiled again. That's great, Colton. I'm glad to hear that. Very glad to hear that. Wow, that's Sam McGee. I have done Sam McGee, and it's on my YouTube, and it has like sound effects. Has wind and stuff, and crackling fire at the end. A sort of soundscape it just a little bit. Um, let's see. Yeah, it's YouTube is the cultured bumpkin, and it's it hopefully should pop up. There's a link in my like bio as well if you want to make sure you go right to it. Well, it has been a little over an hour. I think I'm gonna start heading. I might excuse me. I might do Legend of Sleepy Hollow tonight. I might record that. Um yeah, do some recording of short stories, creepy short stories. So, yeah. Well, thank you all very much for coming on and interacting and making. Uh, Thanks, Colton. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. And yeah, if you ever have a request or anything, just drop a comment somewhere, TikTok or YouTube or something. I'll see it. Good night to everybody. Y'all be good. Love you. See you all very soon, I hope. All right. TikTok friends are gone. Do I ever sleep? I do. I sleep some, but I don't sleep a lot because I got too much work to do. Um, yeah. Annabelle Lee. I could do Annabelle Lee. If you ever ask for the Raven, Annabelle Lee, or Ode to a Nightingale, it's probably a yes. Probably a yes. I'll usually drop what I'm doing to do that. Let me find it in my Poe book. Annabelle Lee. Okay. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived, whom you may know by the name of Annabelle Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love. I and my Annabelle Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted, her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabelle Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabelle Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabelle Lee, and the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in the sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. Good one. I love it. Well, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your, so petty. They're jealous little rascals. But anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate that. And yeah, I will get Legend of Sleepy Hollow up very soon, hopefully. So, good deal. I hope you have a great night. And yeah, we'll talk at you later.